Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Finan. I'm a Vice President of CETA, the European Young Farmers Organisation, and also a beef farmer from Ireland. Today I'm going to talk to you about farmers' best practice to mitigate or remediate biodiversity losses. CETA represents the political interests of around 2 million young farmers across Europe. The main objectives of the organisation are to lobby and advocate for young farmers at an EU Brussels level, to facilitate the installation of young farmers and their long-term inclusion in EU agriculture, to inform and train them, and to act as a forum for communication and dialogue between key stakeholders and young farmers. I am a beef farmer farming in the west of Ireland in the county of Roscommon. My enterprise is a heifer finishing business. In 2018, I started farming in my own right previously, and I continue to be involved in the running of the family farm. I operate a non-breeding trading system on this farm, and as you can see in the photograph, this is a picture of my animals. I purchase store heifers at approximately 450 kilograms to 500 kilograms at 15 to 18 months of age. All those animals then are brought to beef on a grass-based system. I target a carcass weight of 380 kilograms to 400 kilograms, and my objective as a farmer and as a beef farmer is to maximize the amount of high-quality grazed grass in the diet to reduce costs over the finishing period. There are many challenges on the farm. As I said, this land was purchased in 2018 and the soil fertility varied significantly across the farm. There was a lack of fencing and infrastructure, so that all had to be developed and is continuing with that work. But the main obstacle in any beef farming enterprise is farm income and viability. We're also very curtailed or affected by external considerations. And there's a lot of negativity at the moment towards ruminant agriculture, and particularly around climate change and biodiversity loss. There's also uncertainty associated with Brexit, which is more relevant in Ireland considering we depend on the UK market for our beef exports. And also we're in the transitionary phase in terms of the new CAP, and there's an increased focus on the environment. But as a young farmer, I'm optimistic for the future, and I believe there are opportunities for grass-based systems willing to embrace knowledge and information to improve all aspects of the farm. I do see a heightened awareness at the moment and in the last number of years around biodiversity and environmental considerations. I welcome this awareness, and my objective as a farmer is to produce a top quality, nutritious, fully traceable, quality assured product which will deliver for the consumer of my beef. Fostering soil health on my farm is very important. I have a free draining mineral soil. My objective always is to improve soil fertility and nutrient management. I also hope to improve the soil structure and resilience with use of forage crops and cover crops and mixed species swards when reseeding. Resilience in the sward is very, very important, and also in the soil to be able to withstand periods of drought and periods of heavy rainfall, which we are experiencing more frequently now as climate change impacts on our agricultural system. As you can see in the photographs, a very valuable tool on my farm is my soil sampler. I take samples on a 3-year cycle, a sample part of the farm every year. The information gained from the soil sampling is used then to develop my nutrient management plan, which I work on with my Teagasc advisor, my Teagasc agricultural advisor, who develops a plan with me, which is tailor-made for my farm and the various soil types which exist on the farm. Soil pH is a critical component towards soil fertility. As you can see in the photograph, this is a picture of ground limestone tipped in my fields after the silage has been taken off. I spread this on the land to increase the pH. The optimum pH for grass production is approximately 6.5. My soils, when I started a number of years ago with the liming process, were at 5.5. So it's very important to ensure the pH is correct to optimize growth of the grass. I also use forage crops. They have a double benefit. One, they provide a source of high protein winter feed, but also they help and assist in terms of developing the soil structure because of their rooted system. This is a crop of red start, which is a mix of a hybrid between kale and rape. It's high protein, and I will be feeding this to my animals over the winter period through strip grazing. And then next spring I will be reseeding this particular section of this field. Fostering biodiversity on the farm is an important aspect to my farming. I use a grassland. I'm involved in a grassland system using rotational grazing, and at the forefront of my mind is protection of animal habitats, including reduction in chemical fertilizer, and I hope to fully eliminate the use of pesticides and herbicides. I also plant trees on an annual basis, and I maintain my hedgerows. As you can see in this slide, you can see the difference in two paddocks here. One where the grass has not been grazed as of yet, and the other where the animals have finished grazing. I operate on a 21-day cycle in terms of grazing. It takes 21 days for the grass plant to reach the 3-leaf stage, and at that point it's at its most nutritious from the animal's perspective. And then it takes 3 days, so the animals go into this paddock, it takes them 3 days to graze it out, so the paddock is getting an 18-day rest period. On the other photograph, there are many habitats on the farm. This is just one example of a hedgerow habitat. There are approximately 4 kilometers of this type of habitat on my farm, and this hedgerow is a mixture of various tree species and hedgerow species, but also plenty of flora and fauna. And this is a home for birds and various types of wildlife and animals, and I do all I can to protect this habitat and ensure that it's promoting biodiversity at all times. This slide shows the various levels of trees, both mature and new trees, which exist on the farm. And in the other photograph, it shows the dry stone wall habitats on the farm. And there's a lot of dry stone walls in this particular part of the country and this particular farm. In building and rebuilding this wall earlier this year, as a result of the cattle knocking a part of it, I realized the value that this stone wall habitat has, with an abundance of various types of earthworms, snails, various types of insects, using it as their home at the base of the wall. So this is a very, very important habitat on my farm. In this slide, I just want to convey the importance of a number of aspects for livestock farmers to address soil health and biodiversity. So livestock farmers, including myself, are delivering public goods. I see myself as a custodian of the countryside, and by maintaining and keeping the countryside in good condition, I am delivering public goods where the general public can move through the country and admire the wonderful scenery and sites which exist as a result of the work which I undertake on my farm. I am turning an inedible protein on my farm, which is in the form of grass, into an edible protein in the form of meat, and my other colleagues who are dairy farmers would be turning that inedible protein into milk. I believe that measurement and monitoring at farm level is very, very important. As a young farmer, I believe that measurement of the key KPIs involved in my system are critical to ensuring it runs efficiently and sustainably from the point of view of economic, social, and environmental. So we measure soil fertility, we measure animal performance, we measure animal weight, we measure animal health. So there's a variety of various KPIs which are measured on the farm. And by measuring, I can then monitor performance, and by monitoring performance, I can improve the overall profitability of the farm and my income as a result. I think access to education and knowledge and latest research is very, very important from a farmer's perspective. I think we need to have an acknowledgement from policymakers and environmentalists about the importance of animal-based production. And this is very important to improve soil health and biodiversity, where the circular economy works within the farm gate, where all the nutrients, the slurries, and the various waste are recycled onto the land, and the animals are providing a very valuable service in actually eating this inedible protein, which is grass in my case. I think there needs to be a better relationship between environmentalists and farmers, I think there needs to be a mutual understanding of each other's roles and each other's concerns. Um, I would really like a situation to arise where my farm would have a net emissions figure rather than being agriculture being judged on a gross emissions basis. By gross emissions, it's the emissions from the animals which I hold. But I would like that the carbon sequestration potential of my hedgerows, my soils, and my all the various carbon sinks which exist on my farm would be taken into account to arrive at a net emissions figure. And then I can put other measures in place to move towards a zero emissions rate on my farm. I think CAP needs to be based on practical results-based measures. There needs to be a better return from the market for my high quality product, and the farmer's position on the food chain needs to be, and the supply chain needs to be strengthened through legislation and various other mechanisms. I think there needs to be a link between sustainable production, delivering healthy soils and biodiversity, but also a link between sustainable production, delivering healthy soils and biodiversity, and the environment, and also the impact that producing a healthy product has on human health. Livestock farming and future farming policy will be governed by the CAP, and as you can see here, the 9 objectives of the CAP reform, where beef farming fits into many of the objectives outlined. And then we have the farm to fork strategy, and this is a SEJA publication, a reality check for young farmers, which is going to play an important role in terms of the rollout of farming policy over the next decade. I would like to thank the organisers of today's event for the invitation to present this today. If anyone would like to get in touch with me, my email address is here on this slide, and also my Twitter handle is @Finan_Sean. And also there is contact information here for the various media channels for SEJA. Thanks again to the organisers, and it was my pleasure to present today, and thank you for listening.